All right, so we've got a really interesting topic to be looking at here. But before we do get into the video, we've been getting demonetized on a majority of our videos that we have been uploading. So I want to give a thank you to Scoops425, Amber Vigors for pledging, as well as a thank you to Fadi Antun for upping his pledge over on Patreon. Patreon.com/theprogressivevoice if you're able to support. You're able to help us build the base that we have so that these demonetizations, like this video that's going to get demonetized, it doesn't affect us. So please go over there and support patreon.com/theprogressivevoice. Links in the description box. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump right into the video. So, Kim Iversen, right? A progressive news channel that has absolutely blown up. I think when I checked the sub count, it was like 140K plus subscribers. It grew very, very fast. In fact, I believe it's only been in existence for, actually, I don't recall exactly how long, but I want to say like 5 or 6 months. Although I don't remember the exact time frame, but it's certainly been less than an entire year. So, very quick blow up for a channel. Very fast, extremely fast growth, and a sort of relatively short history for a channel. Those kind of things combined kind of make it a bit weird. But if you follow her on Twitter, you've probably seen her have a lot of sort of unorthodox progressive takes, to say the least, and that's kind of a charitable way to put it. But let's look at a couple of these, because she really posts a lot. Like, we're talking back to back to back to back tweets that seem to be like trolling on purpose to sort of, like, I don't know, try to break this sort of orthodoxy in a way that almost mimics the way that Jimmy Dore attempts to reach out to the right wing and to being like he's looking for the right wing to be fans of his as the lefties that right wingers like. So there was a story about a black congresswoman saying that a white man told her to, quote, go back where she came from, or his quote was, go back where you came from. This, of course, is sort of an offshoot of the chance, of Donald Trump telling Ilhan Omar to go back where she came from, of course, being racist as fuck. So, Kim Iversen quote tweeted this saying, should people be nice? Yes. Just like people should share and say please and thank you. But here's the reality, folks. The USA is one of the least racist countries in the world. Racism is not our big fight. This is a distraction from the real issues. And then it continues on a sort of weird tangent here. It says, the new identity politics, I don't even know why new is in quotations, is 1, are you a racist? And 2, are you for or against impeaching Trump? These issues don't matter. Someone who's mean to you doesn't matter. Let it roll off your back. Real policies, real issues, real roadblocks are the things that matter. And then she has like some weird map from some list. It's a website called the Top Tens, and it has like a picture of colors denoting the percentage of racism in the country. And she's saying that, the United States is one of the least racist countries, so stop talking about racism. This is an extremely unprogressive take, to say the least. It's a very, stupid take. It is not progressive in any way, shape, or form. I especially find the timing of this tweet to be odd when we're watching, all of the racism that's being hurled at Ilhan Omar, the Somali American, representative in Congress, right? She wears a hijab. She's Muslim, of course. And we've seen, Donald Trump, obviously, telling her to go back where she came from. She's had multiple threats to her life, one man even being arrested for it, saying that if the founding fathers were alive, they would have put a bullet in her head. All this kind of stuff, right? And we saw the crowd at Donald Trump's rally, a bunch of racist people chanting, send her back. So at a time like that, it's weird that you'd be like, she also seems to be kind of like bringing down racism to, should you just be nice? Like, so there's being a dick, and then there's just being straight racist, right? So, I mean, you can call someone like I don't know, just say that someone is stupid or ugly or dumb or whatever. That's one thing. Then when you start, let's say you're like tossing N-word slurs like hard R's or, things of that nature, it's a whole nother level. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole nother level. So there also seems to be like a false equivalence going on. And then also saying like the USA is one of the least racist countries. I don't know when this became a competition and what that has to do with the United States. Like, even if the U.S. is a least racist country, which I don't even know what the methodology or the source of this is specifically, because I didn't look into it, because it doesn't matter in this situation. It seems to be like going down a weird logical pathway. But what does that matter? There clearly are millions of racist people. I mean, we just saw Donald Trump make very racist comments toward Ilhan Omar, and there's like a whole wave of conservatives defending him. It's a dumb point. Even if that's true, there's still a bunch of racist people. When did this become a competition? So if there's a bunch of racism going on, which is what we see, because the United States is supposedly, let's steelman this, one of the least racist countries, it doesn't matter. It's not a big issue. No, that's not true. And that this is a distraction from the real issues, no. Now, when she says this is a distraction from the real issues, I can kind of sort of just barely see maybe what she's trying to get at, just barely. But this is just not the case, obviously. When we talk about the racism that we see towards Ilhan Omar, trust me, man, that's a real issue. It's a serious issue by all accounts. It's not one to be like, it's just so weird. It doesn't make sense. This right here, there's something off. This doesn't make sense. This is not the tweet of a sane person, nor is it the tweet of a progressive, nor is it the tweet of an honest actor, to be honest with you. This is either someone with limited cognitive functions, nefarious motives. I guess I bring it down to those two, because a rational human being doesn't come to this. So you either have cognitive limitations, or there's some weird like bad faith nefariousness going on here, because this doesn't make any sense. This tweet right here, it doesn't pass the basic smell test. Okay, simply. That's just the truth. It doesn't pass the basic smell test, okay? There's something off. And that's what's weird about Kim Iversen. There's something off. Now, here's another example of this. And there are literally countless other examples of this. But this is the second one that I brought up. So you guys remember the controversy that happened where Kaepernick told Nike to pull their shoes that had the Betsy Ross flag on them, Betsy Ross flag being one of the first U.S. flags. So she went out on that day saying, "Can someone honestly explain to me how the Betsy Ross designed flag is a symbol of racism?" Listening. Then she goes on another one of her weird tangents. This is where it starts to get odd. So before I actually get into this, I want to explain. So it's basically one of the first U.S. flags. It's the one with, the stars around it. It's on the Sixers, one of the Sixers jerseys, I think, even has it. But basically, what's been happening is groups like Identity Europa and the Klan, the literal Klan, have been co-opting that flag, and they've basically been using it and repping it in a way to be like, I fuck with this America, the time where slavery existed and was legal. That was what was going on, and so Kaepernick didn't want Nike using that flag. So now it's sort of a controversy as to whether, the question can be, oh, well, are you going to let them hijack that? I really don't know, to be honest with you. But, in general, when you think of that kind of a thing, right? Like, for example, like the Nazis didn't invent the swastika. They didn't invent it, Same thing with the costumes of the KKK. I did a video explaining to you guys that I learned in Spanish class, because my teacher was from Spain, that during La Semana Santa, which is like their week of all saints or Day of All Saints or whatever. No, sorry, that's not what it is. That's like their their Easter week. But so basically they wear like these white outfits that look like the Klan outfits. That's what they celebrate in. But that, like, the Klan used that, and now that's what everyone thinks of when they see it. But that's not what they're using it for, and so you get into weird territory. Like, the Nazis didn't create the swastika, and so it becomes a weird sort of territory. But here's where it starts to get weird, okay? So, she says, I was waiting for a better answer than the time period it represents, but never heard one. Betsy Ross was a woman who couldn't own a slave, who essentially owned herself, and who had zero vote or say about the world around her. She's one of the only celebrated women in our nation's history, and how dare anyone try to erase her on paint her as some monster. Women are the most oppressed group in the world. I will not allow women to over and over by calling Kaepernick be overlooked and ignored. Where was his outrage for the epidemic of domestic violence that has run rampant in the NFL? Why did he turn his back on women while supporting the men? Why does he now turn his back on one of the only women in history? Colin Kaepernick sure seems like he hates women. So this is the problem. You see this right here? Colin Kaepernick sure seems like he hates women. And you would imagine that this is facetious and like trolling. I genuinely don't think so. I really do believe that no, this is like she's being serious. Like she actually believes this. See, that's the conclusion that I come to personally. But again, this is not the tweets of a sane person. This is either the tweets of someone who has cognitive limitations or has some sort of ulterior motive. Because seriously, how do you take that, what I just explained to you, because that's Colin Kaepernick's thinking process, to, oh my gosh, why are you trying to minimize the achievements of women in our history? It sure seems like Kaepernick hates women. Oh, and by the way, why is he trying to support men instead of the, women in the domestic violence, epidemic that's going on in the NFL? Again, classic whataboutism. And I would classify Kim Iversen to be part of that kind of Jimmy Dore. She kind of has her channels like a Jimmy Dore offshoot type of thing, basically. And so, whataboutism is very, very, key in that sort of zone. But, the victims of police brutality are not exclusively men. Victims of police brutality are also women. So it's not like he chose an issue in which exclusively men are affected by. That's not what he did. He's, obviously what he was protesting is police brutality. Police brutality is not exclusive to men. Remember that? I don't know if you guys remember this video. TYT had covered it back in 2014, 2015. Let me know if you remember it, in which the cop was like wrestling down a pregnant black woman. Things like that. So they're not exclusive to men, which doesn't make any sense. But seriously, to paint this as if there's some like trend going on of Colin Kaepernick disliking women, trying to erase their history and all this stuff. But I don't believe that this form of logic is authentic. I don't think it's legit, because there's no way you can do this. So weird. And this is what's so difficult to analyze about this. There seems to be some weird just combination of things going on here. How do you defend the Betsy Ross flag in the way that she does, which this has really nothing to do with Betsy Ross in the first place herself, but then turn it into a thing of, oh, he's sexist or he doesn't like women? How do you go from being like, stop the victim mentality, to twisting your situation into being the victim? It's just really confusing, and I really don't get this. But the conclusion that I leave off with this is that either she's, some sort of cognitive limitation in terms of just being dumb, or the person is just not being honest, authentic, and real, and that there is some sort of ulterior motive going on here. I don't know which one it is. I mean, you can let me know what your thoughts are on this, but this is not normal thinking. This doesn't make any sense. Seriously, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. It's just pure insanity. But let me know your thoughts on this down below. I'm curious to hear them.